Dear students, hope you are great. Today we are going to take chapter 3, Properties of Matter, section 3, Identifying Chemical Properties. In last session we took physical properties. Today we are going to talk about chemical properties. Physical properties are not the only properties that describe matter. We have only another properties which is called chemical properties. So chemical properties describe matter based on its ability to change into new matter, or matter whose identity differs from the identity of its original matter. So chemical properties describe matter based on its ability to change into new matter. So chemical properties is a property that describe matter which is change into new matter or form a new matter. For example, when you burn a wood, what happened? Wood react with oxygen and form ash plus carbon dioxide or smoke. The matter or the composition that's made up ash is different from the wood. So wood react with oxygen and form ash and carbon dioxide. Matter that made up matter that made up ash is different from matter that made up wood. This property is called flammability. So flammability is an example of chemical property, as substance change and change into another substance. Wood, when it burns, change into another substance, change into ash and carbon dioxide. Flammability is the ability of substance to burn. Wood has a chemical property of flammability. When the wood burns, it becomes ash and smoke. The properties of this new substance different from the properties of the wood, as ash is different from the wood. So property of the ash is different from wood. Reactivity. Reactivity also another example of chemical property. The ability of substance to change into one or form a new substance and form a new substance. So the activity when the substance has able to react or to change into a new substance, like iron. When the iron reacts with water and oxygen in presence of oxygen. And form rust. Substance or substance that's made up rust is different from iron. So iron reacts with oxygen and form rust. Rust is the chemical that made up rust is different from the iron. So the properties that made up rust is different from iron. So reactivity is an example of chemical property. Watch this video.
Chemical properties of matter. What would you think if I told you that matter can combine with other matter and form an entirely new substance? For example, if sodium and chlorine are combined, we get a new substance. This new substance is table salt. Anything relating to how matter combines with other matter to form a new substance is known as a chemical property. Chemical properties can only be seen when the matter is combined with something else and forms a new substance. Let's see some examples. Some things can catch on fire and burn more easily than other substances. This is called flammability. When something burns, a new substance is created. For instance, when wood burns, ash is formed. Another chemical property is reactivity, or how easily one material can combine with another material to form a new substance. You can think of reactivity as how easily a substance reacts with other substances. So, how would you know if you saw a chemical reaction? Let's look at some clues that might tell you if a chemical reaction is occurring or has occurred. One clue is that something is changing colors. Color changes are common in chemical reactions. If we expose this flower to sodium hydroxide, the purple on the petal turns yellow, showing us that a chemical reaction is taking place. Another sign of a chemical reaction is seeing or smelling a gas. This would mean that you might see bubbles or smell an odor. Here is an example. The bubbles that are going up are the new substance that was formed in the chemical reaction. Another hint to look for to see if a chemical reaction has occurred is to look for a new substance. I love watching the new substance form in this video. It's really interesting to watch how the crystals grow. You can also look for a precipitate. A precipitate is a solid substance that forms when two or more liquids are mixed. Watch as these two liquids combine. You'll see a solid yellow substance, the precipitate, form at the bottom of the container. Other signs of a chemical reaction can include glowing or releasing light, like you see in these glow bracelets, becoming cold like you see in this instant cold pack. To make it cold, all you do is pop the bag of water inside the pack and the temperature quickly drops. Producing heat is another sign of a chemical reaction. Fire produces the heat. These hand warmers also produce heat. The hand warmers just have to be opened and exposed to air for the heat to begin. There are many different signs that a chemical reaction has taken place, and there are many different chemical properties of matter, but both only show up when one substance combines with another to form an entirely new substance.
Chemical change adds a new substance. Chemical change happens when one or more substances change into a new substance that have new and different properties. When substance change into and form into a new substance, this change called chemical change. For example, soured milk smell bad because bacteria have formed smelly new substance in it. When you smell sour milk, it's a bad smell. Why? Because the bacteria that present inside the milk form a new substance. This new substance has a bad smell. Sign of a chemical change. In chemical change, at least one sign indicates the chemical change. We should have at least one sign to indicate a chemical change, like bad odor or bad smell, like change in color, like sound and light, for example fireworks form a new substance. The sign of formed a new substance indicated by sound and light, like fireworks, like forming bubbles. When you mix sodium bicarbonate with a vinegar, what's happened? It forms a bubbles. Forming a bubbles is a sign of a chemical change, and a new substance was formed. So, for example, change in color. This indicates of a new substance formed. Odor or smell, like sour milk smell bad. Phasing, forming. Sound or light, like fireworks. Can a physical and chemical change be reversed? Many physical change are easily reversed. when a physical change happens, we can reverse this reaction or this change. They do not change the composition of substance. Why we can change or reverse this change in physical change? As the substance or the composition that made up a substance does not change in a physical change. For example, like when you melt an ice cube, the material or the composition that made up ice cube is the same as water. When you melt it change into water. We can freeze this liquid or this water and form it again into, or turn it again into ice cube. For example, when ice cube melt, ice cube made of water melt, it turned into water. Water is a liquid state. We can freeze the water, and turn it again into ice cube. So this change is called physical change. We can reverse this change. This happens only in physical change. But for example, an ice cube melts, you could freeze the liquid water to make another ice cube. But the composition does not change during a chemical change. But in a chemical change, the composition change during a chemical change. When the firewood, for example, when the wood burn and change into a new substance like ash. So the composition that made up ash is different from the wood. So we cannot reverse this reaction. When the wood react with oxygen and burn and form a new substance like ash. This is a new substance. The composition that made up ash is different from the composition that made up wood. So we cannot reverse this reaction. We cannot form wood again. But composition does change during a chemical change. So most chemical change are not easily reversed. The chemical change that happens when a fireworks explode would be almost impossible to reverse. When you explode a fireworks, we cannot return or revert this reaction again and form a firework after exploding. That's it. Thanks for watching.